there is a comforting narrative right now around many different companies that leaders can say that people trust in the way we do things here. We are doing this for many years. People trust the way things happen. But the reality in this beginning of 2026 is showing that actually people are losing the trust in a very fast pace in their senior leadership. A report from Randstad interviewed 27,000 workers in 100 and yeah 1,200 and different companies. Sorry, I was checking the data directly from the report now for you. So 1,200 companies in 35 different countries. And the numbers are showing that for the first time in history, we are seeing that people are losing the trust in senior leadership in a very, as I mentioned, fast pace. And that is going not is not being connected to the people specifically there, but more about the strategy of the companies. Because basically, the trust in senior leadership fell globally from 77% to 72% in 12 months. You can think, okay, 77% to 72, that's not that much, but is the lowest level in history. And then among Generation Z, this number is even lower. It's around 67%, another big or quite low level for trust. But the gap we see here is basically that people are replacing where the trust is going right now. And they are still with a high trust in their connected leader or the close manager, the one who is leading their teams. The same report showed that people have this kind of trust established between the teams that are working and their direct managers. But the company itself and the direction those senior leaders are moving the company in the future, this is where the low trust is decreasing and decreasing more and more. Of course, if we talk about changes, that is maybe quite easy to understand with so many changes in the organizational structure and the strategy and the connection between strategy definition and execution. It's maybe quite obvious to see that people will start losing trust because you are changing all the time, you are changing our structure, you are changing the whole strategy, which should be actually a long term thing. Okay, you can use the AI excuse again, but it's not only that, right? Companies are losing their pace of being sure on where they want to be positioned and what they want to be doing in 5, 10 years. And that is maybe something that is the new normal for many different industries because the world is changing completely every single year. But from a working perspective, you don't expect that the way you work or the direction you are moving change every single month, right? And that is exactly the point that is generating this kind of trust issue right now around the world. People no longer trust the company itself. That is the point of the research. They still trust their close leaders and they still have this trust established around the teams, which I think is actually a good sign to think about because what is started with the agile way of working was actually a movement around trust between people, around people, everything around people in the center for producing value to other people who are going to use their product or service. Many people still don't understand, unfortunately, many workers still don't understand the point of agile. They still think that is about certifications. They still think that is about, you know, the framework you use, the name you give to the role. It's not about that. It is about trust. It is about trust that your team is working together with you to build something valuable. And that more connected or staying close to the customer is the best way to make sure that you are building the right value to the right person on the right time. So, trust is what basically built the pillars for an agile way of working. But now in 2026, what we see is that leaders are facing this big gap in what they define from a strategic perspective for their companies and what they are actually executing. And the final data I want to bring here on this study and this report is this one, because I think this is where one another big reflection could be happening. 95% of employers or the senior leaders of those companies are very optimistic about 2026 against only 51% of the workers on the teams. 95% against 51%. The gap on this optimism is super huge, because if senior leaders are optimistic, but the people who are executing are not, you know what is going to happen, right? People are not going to move in the same pace that is expected. Companies or senior leadership will realize they need to change again, and then we go in this big circle of strategic change, gain of optimism up there, people don't execute and you change again. Something need to happen here, because this model of work is not sustainable anymore. And I want to make the criticism normally when I bring a topic here for us to discuss is also with a kind of solution or alternative that at least see as an option. But in this case, I want to have the open discussion, because I still don't have a conclusion. What do you think it's causing the trust issue around the companies, or at least in the industry that you work? Do you think that people leading those companies are not understanding something that maybe the works are seeing, or is just the word that is completely different right now for some reason, or is something else? Because I don't think it's reasonable to just point a finger and say senior leaders are taking the wrong decision. I don't think this is fair, because senior leaders or people in those positions, they take decisions based on the data they get, and this data normally come, or is expected to come, from the teams, people working under them, executing the work. So if they don't have the good data to decide to move the company to the right direction, it's not only the responsibility, it's the whole company responsibility. If the company fail, it will fail to everyone. If the company succeed, it will succeed to everyone. But in your opinion, what is creating this big trust issue, and people don't feel comfortable anymore to the future where their companies are heading to?